South Africa has one of the worst records in the world when it comes to road collisions and serious trauma. As a result, aeromedical services have existed since the 70s, distinguished by various Flight for Life helicopter services. Due to the high costs involved in operating helicopters, the availability of suitable machines has been largely confined to bigger cities in the country. Aeromedical services were initially funded by provincial health authorities, and then private organizations like STAR, or Specialized Trauma Air Response, took over. The Bolco BO-105 machine seen here was also branded by Netcare, South Africa's largest hospital and doctor network, who were instrumental in providing financial support as well as doctors and flight paramedics for the service. Funding for this vital life-saving aeromedical service has always proved to be seasonal. Despite valued support from numerous sponsors, the Flight for Life helicopter service seemed doomed. This unfortunate state of affairs never seemed to deter the many dedicated volunteers, including doctors, paramedics and others, whose only concern it was to help continue saving lives. The trusty old workhorse BO-105 Romeo Charlie Papa had definitely proved her mettle. But after a lengthy tour of duty, the machine proved to be very expensive to operate on a cost-effective basis. She now sits in a dusty corner of a hangar, waiting to be overhauled and disposed of. This helicopter has helped save the lives of thousands of patients over the years. Out with the old and in with the new. Netcare 911 launched its own aeromedical helicopter division in 2005, utilizing a modern fleet of Eurocopter Squirrels and a state-of-the-art EC-135. The Squirrel has already proved to be a reliable workhorse, sporting a powerful single-turbine engine and seating room for 3 crew and a patient. The machines are currently being refitted and will also carry new branding. An array of advanced life support equipment will be carried in all machines in the fleet. The undisputed star of the show is the EC-135 Zulu Sierra Romeo Sierra Romeo.
We have 2 types of air ambulances, our largest being an EC-135, which is the international standard in air ambulances, and our smallest being a Squirrel B2. We use the Squirrel for daylight operations and we use the EC-135 for nighttime operations. The EC-135 is an expensive aircraft to operate. The previous operators of the aircraft, Star Air Ambulance, used it day and night. This created quite a problem in as far as the costs during the day. So what we've said in order not to incur the same huge costs during the day is that we can operate a single engine aircraft a lot more effectively during the day, just as safe, just as effective, and rather use the EC-135 for nighttime operations where the twin engines help and the twin pilots help.
We meet up with the crew at the Helimax hangar at Grand Central Airport for a night ops to Mafikeng, where a patient is to be collected and flown back to Johannesburg. It's a 4-hour round trip, and a friendly dispute regarding seating is taking place. Everyone, it seems, wants to sit up front with the pilot. Romeo Sierra Romeo's twin Arias TBI turbines burn up 200 litres of Jet A1 every hour she cruises through the air at around 130 knots. She flies at an operational altitude of 1,500 foot above ground level, carrying her pilot A.B. Poseidnote and 3 crew members in absolute comfort and safety. A.B. prepares to fire up the turbines in preparation for the flight. His workload starts now, as he monitors instruments, sets GPS coordinates, and talks to the tower at Grand Central. Madeleine is the advanced life support paramedic on tonight's flight, and she prepares documentation relating to her patient. Dr. Fatima Dokrat, seated right behind her, has to contend with losing out on the front seat this time round. Romeo Sierra Romeo will be flying literally into the sunset.
We decided to start our own helicopter service as a means of cost containment, we were actually able to operate these aircraft cheaper than we were able to contract out and service our clients to our own service levels and our own service agreements. We're able to be the first people to respond in a response car, arrive with our ambulances, and if we need the helicopter, we're able to call our own helicopter with our own protocols, with our own staff, with our own complete integrated level of care. Squirrel's a great aircraft. We enjoy operating it. It's highly reliable at altitude, 5,500 feet where we operate it. Got great legs on it, and it's got a fantastic little trick which we like, and that's shutting down within 30 seconds. Once we land on a scene, it's good to be able to stop the blades within 30 seconds and make sure the scene's a lot safer for everybody. Get out, deal with the patients, and then start up again. We found the costs are very agreeable as well, and this is a saving that's carried through to our clients, medical aids, etc.
It's very exciting and very dynamic and very challenging working in this environment. Usually we have an indication of what we are on our way out to on the way to the call. So we discuss the call on the way out, what we are potentially expecting to find, what equipment we are going to need, and when I climb off the helicopter at the scene, usually I'm sort of in my zone in terms of anticipating what I'm going to see, anticipating what procedures I may need to do to stabilize the patient, anticipating what equipment I need to take with me. And so usually, normally when you sort of see this thing on TV, it's all very glamorous, but you don't really appreciate any of that when you arrive on the scene. You're totally in your zone, you're totally focused on the patient, and you're totally sort of working your way through the data that you have, and in terms of what you're expecting to see and what you're expecting to have to do on the patient. So you're also focusing a lot on the safety aspect around the helicopter. You're very much in a work mode when you climb off that helicopter and you're walking towards the patient.
He's stable at the moment though, so we're going to load him into the aircraft as we're doing now, and we're prepping him for flight. And in the next minute or two we'll be ready to lift off, and we'll be taking him through to Baragwanath.
A worker is severely injured as the result of an industrial accident, and the paramedic calls for Netcare 1. Which criteria determine helicopter evacuations?
We have a list of criteria that determine whether the helicopter is justified. And what we are looking to try and go and fetch in the helicopter is that narrow band of patients where the helicopter will really contribute to altering the outcome. So patients that are too well, that will probably do well in hospital anyway, don't justify the helicopter. And patients who are too sick, who will probably have a very poor outcome or ultimately die regardless of how they are taken to hospital, also don't really fit criteria. So that narrow band of patients that are quite sick, very critically injured, but will benefit from rapid transfer to hospital in a helicopter, and will benefit from the skills of the paramedics and the doctors on the helicopter, those are the patients really that we want to go and fetch.
During peak seasons we have 5 helicopters which we use for surf rescue, and this is in conjunction with South African Life Saving and the National Sea Rescue Institute, and all sponsored by Vodacom and Netcare. And the majority of the aircraft are squirrels. We're able to use long lines to hoist rescue swimmers and patients out of the surf and move them to shore very easily. The aircraft's very maneuverable. Has a fantastic power-to-weight ratio at low altitudes. It's a really great looking aircraft, and of course it looks even better with our branding on it. I've been a flight paramedic for about 12 years, and nobody knows what we've been doing. And I look forward to showing everybody what flight paramedics, flight doctors, flight nurses do on a day-to-day basis. Where we go, what aircraft we fly in, what fantastic things we do and see, and hopefully educate everybody as to this fantastic world that we live in. I can promise you it's going to be a hell of a ride.